Over the past few weeks, screenshots, posts, and whispers have flooded social media. Claims of a leaked mugshot, allegations of a hidden past, and accusations fans say were buried. Comment sections exploded, threads vanished, uploads multiplied. And suddenly, everyone was asking the same thing. Why hasn't this been talked about before? But here's the question almost no one is asking. If something this explosive were real, why hasn't anyone verified it? And even more telling, why did the one person with the most to gain from exposure, Chris Marek, never react at all? Tonight's video is not about declaring guilt. It's not about repeating rumors. And it's definitely not about internet mob justice. This video is about how narratives are manufactured, how images circulate without context, how speculation hardens into fact, and how audiences are often nudged to draw conclusions long before evidence ever appears. Because in the age of screenshots and reposts, virality often replaces verification. And when that happens, the loudest story wins. Not the most accurate one. We're going to slow this down, strip away the emotional framing, and look at what actually exists versus what people assume exists. In this video, we'll break down where these so-called mugshot claims originated, what can be verified and what absolutely cannot, how fandoms often confuse controversy with criminality, and why silence when paired with documentation is often a strategic choice, not avoidance. Because real exposure doesn't start with leaks. It starts with records, timelines, paper trails, and that brings us to the most overlooked part of this entire situation. Chris Marek, the man accused by some fans of doing nothing, of staying quiet, of refusing to defend, deny, or attack. But what if that silence wasn't weakness? What if Chris didn't react because reacting would have meant playing a game he never intended to win publicly? Tonight isn't about proving someone right or wrong. It's about understanding why certain stories spread and why others never needed to. Let's start at the beginning. The first thing viewers need to understand is where this alleged mugshot actually came from, because it didn't come from a courthouse, a police database, or a verified news outlet. The image and the claims surrounding it surfaced the way most viral rumors do: anonymous social media accounts, reposted screenshots, and cropped images passed around without attribution. No original upload, no timestamp, no source link. Just a vague claim paired with a picture and a caption implying criminal history. And once that combination appears online, it spreads faster than facts can catch up. This is where context matters. Mugshot-style photos are among the easiest images to misidentify or manufacture. Neutral backgrounds, flat lighting, forward-facing framing, these aren't exclusive to police booking photos. They're also common in driver's license photos, employment or credential headshots, old personal photos taken against blank walls, even poorly cropped social media images. When an image is stripped of its original context and reposted with a new narrative, the framing does the persuasion, not the evidence. Let's talk about the visual tricks at play. Backgrounds can be digitally replaced in seconds. Lighting can be flattened with basic filters. Cropping can remove identifying details that would otherwise confirm where and when a photo was taken. Add a few words like leaked or arrest photo, and suddenly viewers are primed to believe they're looking at something forbidden or suppressed. And here's the key issue that keeps getting ignored. There is no court record confirmation tied to this claim. There is no verified arrest documentation. There is no credible media outlet reporting any such incident. Not a local police blotter. Not a public records database. Not even a tabloid willing to attach its name to the story. The internet doesn't need proof, it needs repetition. Once something is reposted enough times, people stop asking where it came from. That's exactly what happened here. The rumor didn't grow because new evidence emerged, it grew because the same unverified image kept circulating in different corners of the internet, each repost adding a false sense of legitimacy. And that distinction matters. Because when something is real, it leaves a paper trail. When it isn't, it leaves noise. And so far, all we've seen is noise. Reality TV doesn't just create characters, it creates parasocial courtrooms. Viewers don't simply watch, they judge. Over time, audiences begin to feel like they know these people personally, even though their exposure is filtered through edits, producer choices, and selective storylines. That familiarity breeds entitlement. Fans feel justified assigning motives, intentions, and eventually verdicts. Once someone is emotionally convicted in the court of public opinion, evidence becomes optional. Karen's role in Little People, Big World made her a perfect lightning rod. She entered an already fragile ecosystem, post-divorce dynamics, loyalty fractures, unresolved resentment, and didn't arrive with years of goodwill to buffer her presence. She wasn't just a new character, she was a symbol. To some fans, she represented disruption, replacement, or betrayal, regardless of what the actual timeline or facts showed. And when a person becomes symbolic, nuance disappears. This is where fans begin to rewrite history. Moments are reinterpreted. Neutral interactions become suspicious. Ordinary behavior is reframed as manipulative or strategic. The past gets reshuffled to fit the narrative people want to believe rather than the one that actually unfolded. And once that rewrite happens, it's emotionally satisfying because it confirms what viewers already feel. Then comes projection. Discomfort turns into moral judgment. Viewers project their own values, fears, and expectations onto someone they dislike. Karen isn't just someone I don't like, she becomes someone who must have done something wrong. That's a critical shift. Dislike morphs into assumed guilt. Controversy gets mistaken for character evidence. And that's where the most dangerous confusion sets in. Dislike gets conflated with illegality. Being unpopular doesn't make someone criminal. Being controversial doesn't equal a rap sheet. But in online spaces, those distinctions collapse fast. Fans start asking, what else don't we know? As if absence of proof is proof itself. This entire process is fueled by confirmation bias. Once viewers decide someone is shady, every rumor feels plausible. A blurry image feels real, an anonymous post sounds credible. A recycled screenshot with no source, good enough. Contradictory information gets ignored or dismissed as a cover-up, while anything that fits the suspicion gets amplified and shared. At that point, the narrative sustains itself. It no longer needs facts, only repetition. And the more it's repeated, the more real it feels, not because it's true, but because belief has already taken root. By this point in the story, one question keeps coming up. Why did Chris Marek never say anything? Not a subtweet. Not a vague interview line. Not a wait until the truth comes out moment. In an ecosystem where cast members routinely hint, tease, and posture for public sympathy, Chris did none of it. That silence wasn't accidental. Chris never attacked publicly. He never hinted at secrets. He never amplified rumors already circulating online. And that matters because people who rely on facts don't leak rumors. They don't need to. Silence versus suspicion. On reality TV, viewers are trained to believe silence equals guilt or fear or complicity. But in the real world, especially where money, contracts, and legal exposure exist, silence often means discipline. People who don't have evidence talk loudly. People who do have evidence talk carefully or not at all. Chris didn't try to win public opinion. He didn't posture as the reasonable one. He didn't frame himself as a victim. He simply didn't play the game. Legal exposure versus internet exposure. This is where the conversation usually gets confused. Internet exposure is fueled by screenshots with no sources, reposted claims without verification, mugshot-style images with no jurisdiction, repetition replacing proof. Legal exposure, on the other hand, operates under entirely different rules. Court records are searchable. Arrests generate public documentation. Charges leave trails across multiple databases. Journalists, not fan pages, verify them. If there were verified criminal records tied to anyone in this story, they wouldn't be hidden behind anonymous posts or YouTube thumbnails. They would already be public, indexed, and cross-referenced. The idea that something real could stay buried this long, without a single court record, docket number, or confirmed report, isn't secrecy. It's absence. Why silence can be the strongest signal. Chris Marek never acted like someone holding leverage. And that's important because people with leverage usually can't resist hinting at it. They say things like, I could say more, but there's a lot the public doesn't know. One day the truth will come out. Chris said none of that. Because silence often means there's nothing solid to weaponize and no reason to pretend otherwise. Facts don't need teasing. If there were criminal records, arrests, or verified wrongdoing, silence wouldn't protect anyone, it would be pointless. Public records don't need permission to surface. They surface on their own. The absence of action, reaction, or acknowledgement from Chris isn't a cover-up. It's consistency. Consistency with someone who didn't need to smear, didn't need to imply, didn't need to scare an audience into believing something darker. Because the truth, whatever it is, doesn't require rumor to survive. And when someone refuses to participate in rumor manufacturing, that restraint says more than any exposé ever could. At this point in the video, it's important to slow things down and ground the conversation in something far less emotional: how public records actually work. Because real records aren't mysterious. They're not hidden behind DMs, burner accounts, or cropped screenshots. They exist inside systems designed to be boring, traceable, and verifiable. When an arrest happens, it doesn't just create a photo, it creates a case file. That file includes a jurisdiction, an arresting agency, a date and time, a booking number, and a charge code. Even sealed or dismissed cases leave structural footprints: docket entries, index numbers, or court calendar references. In other words, a mugshot is never alone. It's part of a paper trail that connects multiple independent databases. That's why real mugshots almost always come with context. You'll see a county name, a sheriff's office watermark, a case number that can be cross-referenced, a booking date that aligns with court availability. These details matter because they're what allow journalists, lawyers, and even ordinary citizens to verify claims in minutes, not months. Now compare that to how fake leaks usually appear. No case number, no jurisdiction, no source beyond "someone sent this to me." Often the image quality is low, the background is generic, and the framing mimics booking photos without matching any known agency standards. That's not an accident, it's how plausibility is manufactured without accountability. And here's the key point: debunking this kind of rumor is usually easy. Not because people are smart, but because real systems are consistent. If a criminal record existed, it wouldn't require insider knowledge to find it. It would already be indexed, searchable, and referenced by people who traffic in verified information for a living. This is where skepticism becomes a responsibility, not an attack. Being skeptical doesn't mean defending someone. It doesn't mean liking them. It simply means asking for the same level of proof we'd demand in any other serious claim. Evidence that can stand on its own, without vibes, without repetition, without outrage doing the heavy lifting. So when you hear phrases like "this was buried," or "they don't want you to see this," pause. Systems that bury records don't also allow random screenshots to circulate freely. And scandals that are real don't rely on anonymity to survive, they rely on documentation. Real records leave trails. Rumors leave screenshots. At the end of the day, this story was never about a mugshot. It was about how quickly speculation replaces evidence, and how silence is so often mistaken for guilt. Chris Marek didn't expose Karen Chandler. The internet tried to do that on its own and failed. Because real wrongdoing leaves records. It leaves case numbers, jurisdictions, and paper trails. And until something is proven, documented, and verified, rumors remain exactly what they've always been: noise without substance. Thanks for watching. Until next time.